Welcome to our first episode of Daily Driven. I have here Victor, and we are in his 1989 Mustang GT. It is definitely a pretty fun build. I've never actually driven one of these Fox bodies before, and it's definitely an eye-opener. He's also one of the founders here at Northwest Street and Track, and so basically we're gonna get the first couple profiles in on just us, so you guys can kind of know who we are and what cars we have. So if you want to go ahead and let them know what we have done to this vehicle.
So far it's just bottom end. Has forged crankshaft, forged pistons. Right now we just got the heads intake from Mexico from my uncle's shop. He has a performance shop down there, and we just got it back. So here pretty soon, whenever winter starts getting here and starts getting even colder, we're gonna start tearing it down, and then we're gonna start putting everything back on top. And after that, we're thinking about a turbo build, so look forward to seeing that.
Yep. And the nice thing about these Fox bodies that I've noticed is, like, there's a lot of vehicles that, you know, from the 80s that were built in America that, I mean, the 80s was a horrible time for horsepower, it was a horrible time for designs. I mean, things were just horrible in the 80s. But the Fox body and the Grand National was, like, honestly, those two body styles from the 80s are one of the only vehicles that was built in America or designed in America that till today is still a beautiful car. And I mean, you have to think about even Porsches. I mean, well, actually, I'm not gonna say Porsches, because there's a few Porsches, the 911s look really good from the 80s. I mean, that's one of the best looking ones. But there's a few other vehicles, like, you know, like even a few Japanese cars that were horribly ugly looking. There's a few German cars that were horribly looking. And honestly, it's definitely a body style that has you know, lasted over the years. So we're gonna take the car for a drive. We're gonna drive, if you're familiar with Oregon, which is where we're based, we're gonna be heading up to the Silver Falls, and so we're just gonna take it for a cruise on these country roads and just basically see how it performs going uphill. All right, so we're gonna get it going. I think it sounds good.
Every time I start it up, it's like every single time, it never gets old.
It's like waking the beast up, man. Nothing sounds better than that V8, man, when you fire it up. I mean, I'm a four-banger turbo guy, but the sound of the roaring engine is always something that, you know, it gets your blood warmed up, you know?
Oh yeah.
So beyond, you know, just the bottom end build, is there any aesthetics that you plan on doing, like look-wise to the vehicle, suspension, like what are your other plans?
So suspension-wise, I got a lowering kit. It's a DNA drag suspension kit. Mainly what I want to try to do is make it for the track and street, because that's mainly where I'm going to be. I don't really want to stick to just track, because it's my daily driver and I want to keep it that way. One thing is that right now, or another plan is to do Bilstings, because right now it's just 4 shocks. We're going to convert it to coilovers in the front and then shocks in the rear. But I mean, other than that, that's about it for suspension.
I was not expecting that.
Paint job wise, that's last. I mean, I'd rather work on performance than looks. Recently, only thing that I've done look wise is probably wheels. Wheels are forged aluminum weld racing wheels. I think the front wheels are like 3.5 inch wide, and then the rears are like 10 by 9. So look wise, that's it. That's really what I'm aiming for as of right now. All the rest of the money, time is going towards motor, suspension, everything to put all that power to the ground.
Nice. So you know, knowing you for a while now and stuff like that, what's crazy is Victor's dad and his brothers all have Fox bodies, and that's pretty much all they build. Like, I went to, you know, help him move one of he had a, was it the Shelby?
The Cobra.
Yeah, he had a Cobra. Yeah, he had a 79 Cobra that was here in Kaiser area that he needed to move out to, you know, his area that he lives out in Mill City. And so, you know, we loaded up my truck, you know, got on the trailer, and when I got to his house, it was kind of an eye-opener, because I've never seen so many Fox body Mustangs. Like, I thought we were back in the 80s at a dealership. Like, you pull up and there's this Fox bodies everywhere, convertibles, T-tops, I mean, Cobras, I mean, and they're all good-looking rigs. And I mean, it's crazy to see, you know, it's really good to see a dad and sons follow the same suit, you know what I mean, because that always, no matter what, that you always as a family have something that you guys put together. And you know, drag car because it's because it's a muscle car,
Yeah.
But people use them for many different things. I've seen them at drift events. I've seen them at autocross events. I mean, it's crazy how the frame and just the whole design of the car has been able to transcend not just one genre or one. For example, you're not going to see a 69 Camaro at as a drift car. You'll never see that. And not that it can't be done. It can be done, but cost to build is obviously a bigger thing. Big difference. But just the way this whole design was done, it's really cool to see, because everybody say, oh, Mustang, American cars don't corner, but there's guys out here that's, they're running autocross with, just a few suspension setups and a few changes here and there, a few tweaking, and they're destroying autocross events. And they're not expensive to build. I mean, they're a big V8, they're a good platform to build on, and I mean, in no time, you're making high horsepower, and that's a lot of people, like, in the automotive or in the car enthusiast industry, or just period, they down Mustangs because you see a Mustang everywhere. I mean, you're saying, oh, Mustang, oh, they run over crowds, which I give him shit sometimes too about him being a Mustang guy, because of course, you gotta poke fun at each other.
You gotta own it.
You gotta own it. It's like, and it's not the car's fault. It's just 90% of the drivers are usually, because it's a cheap car to get. And I mean, so anybody goes and picks one up and they're not used to the power they make. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm going from this 150 horsepower car that I've been daily driving, this little basic Camry, and I'm gonna, oh, you're telling me I can afford one of these Mustangs? Okay, I'm gonna go get it. But they're not used to the way the power is put down. So they go to the car show and do an idiot burnout and don't understand how the vehicle performs, and they put themselves in a ditch or run over people. And it's you can't blame the car. The car is able to make power. It's the driver don't know how to handle the power.
Exactly.
So there's a big stigma against it, against the Mustangs, but I mean, realistically, of course, we get stuck behind a huge truck going up the hill. We may get an opportunity to test it. There's a way to go around him. I may open her up here in a second.
One thing I think it is that, like, most of the guys that get into that is like they're young, they're super young. Don't get me wrong, I'm 22, I'm young too, but you don't see me romping around everywhere,
exactly,
doing burnouts. And like, I know my car, but I'm still not comfortable with it.
Yes.
Mainly because I'm doing stuff to it at least once a month or twice a month, and it drives different. Like, before I put my springs in, and the power distribution, like, all the weight just went everywhere. Cars just, like, the springs were so cooked. And so I put these new springs on, and it made a world of a difference. You felt the whole weight just go straight to the back. It's not all over. You don't see your whole car. One's going this way, the other one's going freaking that way. It's just everything that you do, suspension, motor-wise, it makes a world of a difference.
And that's the one thing that I've always preached when it comes to building a car. It's like, everybody's like, oh, how much horsepower do you make? How much horsepower? It's not all horsepower. If you put everything, it also depends on the kind of car that you're building too, obviously. And because horsepower is a big deal, but being able to put the power to the ground. One of the things that a lot of people skip on is tires. It's like, oh yeah, oh, I'm gonna make 1,000 horsepower, and then they're running on all seasons. It's like, what's the point? You have to realize that is the only part of the vehicle that comes in contact with the ground. You can make 1,000 horse, or you can have the biggest brakes setup that you will ever have in the history of mankind. But if your tires are shit, what's the point? So it's like, everybody's like, oh, throw some power into, make this more. Are you supercharged? Oh, you're not supercharged. You're not about that life. But that one car that has the right tire setup, the right suspension setup, and just enough horsepower will deal so much damage to a car that makes it way more horsepower. Because it's all about figuring out the right way to put the power down. I'm actually going to open up right here since we have it straight, if you don't mind. So we're going to do a pull here from right here, and we'll see nobody behind me. Definitely gets it.
It's so much different being in my passenger seat.
It always is. It always is. So, because of course, when you're the driver, you expect and know when, where, and how. But when you're the passenger, you don't expect it.
No, you really It's
So-
like you're driving, you're doing like you're handling the gas pedal and all that, and I'm just like, oh shit.
So you know, oh, he's gonna turn. He's gonna, you know, when you're the passenger, you're along for the ride.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
why a lot of times, if you notice, when the guys do the car reviews, they usually want the owner of the vehicle in the passenger seat because it kind of gives them a different perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's the same with my car. I mean, the only other people that's ever driven my car is my wife, obviously, and any technician that's ever done any work to it. I mean, obviously, if it goes in for an oil change, obviously they pull it in. But it's definitely weird to be in the passenger seat of your own car because you're used to, you know when to shift, you know what to do, you know, it's your car.
Exactly.
But no, 5.0 build, definitely something that's on my agenda. And I mean, I've owned a lot of different vehicles, and I mean, especially Matt Farah, seeing his build that he had, he just recently sold it or auctioned it off. But I mean, after you got this car, I started doing some more research about the Fox bodies, and I found Matt Farah's, and I was just like, oh my god, that is a beautiful car.
There is a lot of sweet builds of Fox bodies. Like, people do anything to them. You put LS motors in them. They put, recently they just started putting the Eco Boost motors in them.
Yep.
That's, you literally can slap anything on these motors, and it's insane what people put in these cars.
And I can definitely feel like suspension wise, it feels like a brand new car. I mean, because you have to consider, okay, it's a 1989, so you know you expect a lot more creaks and body rolls, and actually the suspension feels really good, very linear. Like going around the corner, you don't have too much flex to the body, not too much, you know, undulations or whatever. Off, like for example, we're mid corner and it doesn't feel like it wants to come loose underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
that was one of the problems I was having too, and I was all like, okay, well, before I even start trying to do anything, I wanted to do suspension like from the get-go, just because even with the power that I was pushing, just which is the bottom end, you know, it's still to me it's important and it's safe, because if you're doing stuff like this, easily there's cliffs everywhere, and you'll roll off, you'll get yourself hurt. So to me, it's making big power but also being safe at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, 'cause you watch a lot of the videos, you know, and I've seen, you know, obviously I live on YouTube. For the most part, and you'll watch guys that come out with their builds, and they'll pull, and you'll watch it like just dance over all of it. And for example, even I have a Focus RS, and even for me, as much as it's an all-wheel drive car, there's issues that I have at certain speeds where it starts to dial back the rear end, where it's no longer putting power to the rear end, and it starts performing more like a front-wheel drive car, and it starts to torque steer, and it will literally drag you into another lane. I mean, and when it was stock, I didn't have that issue so much. But as I started building and, you know, getting tuned and running higher fuel, or more higher octane, and the power came on, I mean, there was times I was doing a pull with a guy on I-5, and I got into it, and before you know it, I literally switched lanes the minute the turbo came on. And it was kind of terrifying. I was like, holy crap, like, you know what I mean? What if there was a car right there?
Exactly.
And it took somebody out. So there's a lot of things that, you know, as you build, you have to correct. You know what I mean? Because from the factory, it doesn't do that. But as you make more power, the car's going to start acting different. You know what I mean? So suspension is important. Tires are important. I mean, just, you know, drivetrain, you know, changing the gear ratios is a big thing. You know what I mean? Because you run with the stock gear ratios, every car out of the factory, is that snow?
That's ice.
Wow. So you can tell how high our elevation is currently. We are actually passing snow. Or ice or whatever that is. So we might want to turn around, because we do not have snow tires on a rear-wheel drive Mustang. We don't want to be a part of a funny video.
Nope.
Or a blooper reel.
Seriously.
So we're gonna find a location to turn around, because we're starting to see ice. But anyways, as I was saying though, you know, from the factory, gearing is meant, you know, they want you to have a little bit of power, but you know, they have to get good gas mileage. I'm gonna turn that. I'm gonna find that spot. They want you to get good gas mileage. Let's turn right here. And so the gearing is set up with that idea in mind. So definitely changing gearing is a big thing for any vehicle. I mean, if you plan on doing a big build.
Exactly. Even if you're just stock and you do like gears, it's a big difference from stock.
Yeah. Exactly. So, well, it's definitely a fun build. You know, we've been friends for a while now. I've been very excited to watch him build a car. He actually has the heads and intake in the back, actually in the trunk right now. We were checking it out earlier. And I mean, it's been poured and polished, and they look good. They look really good, and I think it's definitely going to make a big difference, you know, once he starts, you know, adding And it was smart the way you go about doing the bottom end first.
Yeah.
And then go to the, you know, because people are like, oh, I'm gonna do all the heads, da da da, and the bottom end of the car can't
It's
handle it.
nothing,
That's literally
I know.
the heartbeat of the engine.
I know.
Yeah, the head does work, but the bottom end is, you know, that's where you're gonna find that weak point that is gonna be detrimental to the build.
Exactly.
When you blow that bottom end up, that's it. I mean, yeah, you can take the head off and put it on something else, but that's the majority of the engine. That's where all of the power comes out of, that bottom end.
And so like one thing is, like, I know like we all build our motors, we all spend so much money just trying to go faster and faster. Typically our stuff does end up getting blown up, but you also want to try to do it like the safest and smartest way, that you're not going to spend more money than you actually have to.
Exactly.
So
because going backwards on the build is the last thing you want to do.
God.
It's great, I make big power, boom, engine blows up. Now you're literally starting back from square one again. Now you got to get another engine, and you got to build that engine.
It's like slapping a turbo on your stock motor.
Yeah, and nothing else.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna get an eBay turbo and slap it on it. That's all it is. Okay, well, are you running more fuel?
Yeah.
You know, to make up for the more air that you're getting in. You know, did you get it tuned for the turbo, or no? Oh, I'm just gonna slap it on there. 2 days later, engine grenades. So I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
What do you think happened? It's like you can't expect to force more air down, you know, into a motor, and the motor don't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean, you may make a little bit more power, but for how long?
Yeah,
I mean, you're not gonna make it reliably, anyways.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean, you're just gonna cook the motor, and then, you know, the amount of money you spent on that eBay $500 turbo, you might as well have put that into some springs or a good set of tires. You'd have probably done just as well with no issue. Yeah. So, but anyways, beautiful build. I mean, he's a part of the Northwest Street and Track setup. So, you know, I mean, he's one of our founders, and you know, it's me, him, and Ethan that has started this group and this, you know, this video vlog basically. Let's scare these guys a bit. You see how quick he turned around? He almost broke his neck.
Good.
Oh shit, that was funny. Anyways, but I used to do that in my Subi all the time because that thing would run. The tune wasn't correct, so I could get it to backfire like horribly. I mean, like flame backfire. And man, I would see people walking on the side of the road, and I'd flip that throttle and send too much fuel down the line, and it would like boom. People duck and jump out the way, and I just freaking laughed the whole rest of that. But no, like I said, I mean, he's a part of the group. I mean, we enjoy. This is what we do. We do cars, man. I mean, we both work on cars for a living. Me, Ethan, and him work on cars for a living. We do car events outside of work. We watch car videos at home and piss off our girlfriends and wives and friends. We'd be at dinner, like, you know, last night we were out in Olive Garden, and was it Olive Garden? Yeah, we were, no, Gestapo last night. We went to Olive Garden the night before. And they're all talking about, you know, kids and family, and I'm sitting there in the corner watching YouTube videos about cars. And then I got home, my wife ripped me a new one. All you do is watch your phone and blah, blah. I was like, well, I'm sorry, this is my addiction. I was basically shooting up in the corner. Yeah. I mean, but this is what we do. We love it. You know, we love cars. Yeah. Collect Hot Wheel cars when we were kids. You know, we freaking video games. You know, we had the Gran Turismos and the freaking Forza and Need for Speed. We riced out all the cars in Need for Speed. We had it, you know, Escalades doing 150 miles an hour around corners and stuff with spinners on them. Yeah. You know, but we do this. And I mean, and every car enthusiast can understand the love you have for your car. It's not something that anybody that's not a car enthusiast can understand.
That's one thing I've definitely learned. Like, my dad got me into cars. He started when he was 10 years old, and he was working at my dad and my grandpa's shop, you know, working on cars, and sometimes he'd miss school just because they had to get a car done because this client wanted it. Yeah. And, you know, it's just something you do every day, you see every day, you surround yourself by those people, and people that aren't car enthusiasts will never get it.
They never get it.
Never get it.
Never get it. That 2 o'clock in the morning in the shop, wrenching on something. Oh man, you don't even know.
Oh God.
Dude. I remember when I had my Subaru. That was, and I love Subarus. I mean, and I have no hatred for them. I've owned many, but I had a Subaru build a few years ago that I swear to God, no matter what I did to that car, no matter how I fixed it, it found something wrong every single time. Yeah. And it was like, okay, boom, I'm gonna do my front mount intercooler, and I did I mean, I did every bolt-on possible on that car, and I swear to you, it was
the most unreliable thing I've ever driven. And it may just be me. I mean, I probably should have had some, you know, English Racing do the build or something, but I was trying to do the build myself because I'm a car enthusiast, and I want to be proud to say I did it. But it was a nightmare, and it was 3 in the morning, and I'm going to a car show the next day, and boom, there goes this part that broke, and I got to try to figure out how to get it to run so I can go to the car show the next day. So it's a love-hate relationship. It's Ike and Tina, and the car's Ike and we're Tina. We get our ass whooped by these cars. All of our knuckles are all scratched up, and we all got scars on them all from wrenching on these freaking nightmares. But that moment you get in there and you fire it up and you pull into the car meet and everybody's looking at it and they're flashing pictures and they're giving you the thumbs up, that's the gratification we get. We spend a lot of money for that. You know what I mean? You got Instagram models and they getting pictures and likes. You know, they put on some makeup and, you know, that's their gratification. Ours is when we pull up to the car meet. I mean, shit, it's Instagram too. If we forget likes and stuff on Instagram too. But, you know, when you have your kid and you're proud of your kid, that don't get me wrong, I'm proud of my kids. My wife is gonna kill me for making it sound like I don't care. I do, but this is my hobby outside of family life and work.
Well, yeah, it's like, you know, you have your main life, then you have your distraction to get away from. This is my distraction. When everything's going downhill in my life, I turn around and I look at my car. I'm going for a drive. I come back the most happiest person in the world.
I'm telling you, man, there's no better stress relief. You get into a moment where you're just stressed out and mad, and it's also the vice versa. Your day could be going great, but your car can be given an issue, and it is the worst day possible. I mean, and it's almost like having a side chick. I mean, because it's the same way, you know, when you're married and shit, you know, your wife is in a bad mood, it kind of affects the rest of your day. Or your kids are having some issue, it affects the rest of your day, and this is your side chick, you know. And it's like you go to her when you're having problems everywhere else. You know, you know. So that's where it is, and that's how we do it. We're car guys. We love it. It's forever in our blood. I mean, gasoline flows through our hearts just like blood does.
I know.
So that's how we